Studio B, this is your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I am Spencer Linton. He is Jerem Jordan. And joining the program now is our dual threat analyst superstar. He is Uncle B, Blaine Fowler. He is a national champion of BYU football in 1984 as well. Uncle B, merry early Christmas. Hope you're enjoying the holiday season. And I'm assuming that you're very, very busy, but you got your shopping done. So what are your days spent doing right now in the final few days before the bowl game and before Christmas?
You guys know I still have a couple things I have to get from Brenda. That always comes the last week, and especially like my girls help me out with that. Sometimes I go shopping, and I take my phone and I do like a group FaceTime call with all my girls, and they literally walk around the store on FaceTime with me and help me pick some stuff out for Brenda. So that has to happen at some point later this week. Other than that, I'm ready to go, and everything else is taken care of. And you know why everything else is taken care of? Because Brenda takes care of everything else. That's why.
Yes, she does. Kalani Sitake and this coaching staff have things to take care of as well. Not just recruiting high school players, which they did in December and they'll do into February, but also the transfer portal. And as we've been talking about, retention of current players. Who is the most important player to retain, in your opinion?
He's not transfer portal risk, so it's not really relative to that. But to get Chase Roberts to come back, I think would have the biggest impact on BYU. And frankly, I think he is going to come back. And that's huge because this receiving core has already got a group of deep and talented folks coming back. But Chase Roberts is a guy that with Darius moving on, would have a chance to be the focal point of the offense. This is why I think if he's considering this, would come back. He could be a guy that goes out and catches 80 balls this next year and goes over 1,000 yards and could really, really improve his draft stock. And so to me, if they can then talk to him about, hey, this is what we're going to do offensively next year. This is how we're going to feature you more next year. This is what your role is going to be. Your role was great, but your role is even going to increase more next year. You have a chance to be a superstar in this league. Come back. And then you add to that the rest of this receiving core that's coming back, and you have Cody Hagan, who's now in year 2, to add to that group. I think that he would be the single most important guy, that there is a chance that he could be gone, that if they could convince to come back, would have the most impact on this football team.
Blaine Fowler is on BYU Sports Nation. Let's discuss the risk analysis of Chase deciding to come back. What is the negative or potential downside of him opting to come back and play for BYU for one more season?
To me, the only downside is that he sustains some type of a career-ending injury. But I don't think if he plays a full season, as hard as he works and as good as he is, and what I know they would do with him in the offense next year, his draft stock's not going to go down. And there's this idea that, well, I'm not going to get any younger, and my draft stock's, not going to improve. I remember having a talk with James Empey, and James Empey, he had his head right when he went out, and he said, listen, this is where I'm slotted right now, and if I come back next year, I'm not going to move up. The news on me is, or the word on me is, I'm going to be in about the same position next year, only I'm going to be a year older. I don't think that's the case with Chase. I think Chase is not too old, first off, to come back another year. Secondly, if he comes back another year, I actually believe that if he were the feature receiver in this offense, he would have a chance to move up. And with NIL, the way it works now, where he could probably get a raise in his NIL allocation this year, there's an opportunity to make money when you're in school now. So it's a little different story than the old days where the guys were going, I got to go out and make some money. This is my only chance to make money. Well, you can make some money in college right now. I think he could get a little bit more in his NIL. He has a chance to be the featured guy. I think that the risk is that you have a career-ending injury. And I think there's insurance policies out there that could help, mitigate that issue. And so, I feel like him coming back would be good for BYU and potentially really good for him, because I think he could be a draft pick that moves significantly up if he ends up being a featured guy and catches, let's just say he's up around 80 balls and 1,000 yards. He moves up and he's drafted much higher.
BYU announced tight end Carson Ryan from Utah, played 2 years at UCLA prior to that. BYU certainly hasn't used the tight end maybe as much as years past. What's your kind of sense of how BYU could use Carson Ryan and what kind of player he is?
Yeah, he's the guy that's at every down tight end. So he can play attached and he can block. He can run and catch balls. The big question for him is, can he get back to 100% pre-injury type form? Because remember, he had an injury last January that kind of slowed him down, and he kind of slowly made his way in at the University of Utah. Started out at UCLA, but he's got the type of body and the type of skill set that if he can now, with a full year of coming back, stay healthy, get back to his full potential, he have a big impact on this offense. And I like the fact that he's an every down guy that can do everything, because now you're not situationally substituting. He could play every down, and you don't know whether they're going to throw the football to him or he's just in there to block, because he can do both so well. So, yeah, I think he's a great addition. I think he could help that tight end group a lot.
Blaine, let's talk about the tight end position at BYU and how it is currently being utilized, because it's not super impactful, at least in terms of passing game production. BYU fans, because of the history of the tight ends, want to see more of that. They want more Gordon Hudson. They want more Clay Brown and Dennis Pitta and Johnny Harline and all of the other greats. So how does BYU, and will BYU, get back to using the tight end like they have in previous years and decades?
Yeah, I hope Carson's not the only one they add, because there's twofold part to this last couple of years, especially this last year. So BYU's strength on this offense and depth was at wide receiver the last year. So you design your offensive game plan around what your strength is. And so it's to get the ball out to the edges to those guys. We've got Darius out there, you got Chase out there, Keelan Marion really coming on at the end of the year. And that's just 3 of probably 6 that are really, really effective out there. And the tight end group, believe me, if Dennis Pitta was on the team last year, he would have caught 60 balls. This isn't, because if Dennis Pitta was on the team, Aaron Roderick would have said, I got to get that guy 10 targets a game. He's that good. He's that much of a game changer. And so sometimes it's about where your talent lies. And so I think Carson's the first piece of this, right? And he can help upgrade the talent level there. Maybe they'll go get another tight end in the portal in the soft season. And if that balanced talent, if the talent balances out, where wow, now we're just as good at tight end, and it's just as big a weapon as our wide receiving core is. Now all of a sudden more targets come into play in the game plan. And not only that, the better players get more open, and it's easier for the quarterback to see them and get the ball to them. And so when BYU has really gifted tight ends, they get the ball to them, and that wouldn't be any exception moving forward. So if that group can execute at a higher level and start making a bunch of plays. And mind you, they're still going to have a really talented wide receiver group next year, especially if they can convince Chase to come back. But I do think the tight end will be a bigger part of the offense next year with him there.
Speaking of talent, Travis Hunter, the Heisman winner, is he more of a concern for BYU in the bowl game as a cornerback or a receiver?
Wide receiver. Like he's a very good corner. Like he's an NFL level corner. He's a lights out wide receiver. Interesting conversations I've been having with Gavin. You guys know Gavin, my son that coaches the safeties at BYU. We were all Team Genty like a month ago, right? We're going, what? He is so ridiculous, and is he going to get shut out just because he's at Boise State? He's the best running back we've seen in college football in years and years. He's a big-time NFL guy. Well, the game is announced that it's Colorado and BYU. Gavin starts breaking down film. I start looking over his shoulder. We start watching this and breaking down Travis's game. My goodness, you guys, I switched from Team Genty to Team Travis Hunter in a hurry. And so did Gavin. Like, Gavin's like, Dad, this is the best player we have seen all year. Not just the best wide receiver they faced all year, but the best player they faced all year at any position. He's that good, you guys. And so he's very, very special. You have to special game plan for him. You have to bracket him in zone. You have to, maybe you get your top cover guy on him when you're in man every time, follow him around the field. And then other people have to be aware of him. You've got to do things to get Sanders off of his mark and moving around. So you can't just stop back and let Travis have forever to work his routes. The best way to describe him is he's not the fastest receiver BYU is going to face this year. He's not the strongest receiver BYU is going to face this year. He probably has the best hands of any receiver BYU will face. But he's just a football player. Like, you watch him, his understanding of how to get open and how to get separation and where to sit in the zone and what he does with the football after he catches it. His just plain old football instincts are just off the charts.
Yeah.
And that's why he's such a great player. And he catches everything. Anything in his catch radius, he's catching, covered or not. And so he is, the biggest concern for him is on offense. On defense, he's good. You can kind of shy away from him. You can do some things to get him out of position. But offensively, you have to pay so much attention to him because he is so gifted. He deserved the Heisman Trophy. And I'm from a guy that just watched a bunch of film in preparation for a game, the best player in America deserved the Heisman Trophy, hands down.
National champion quarterback Uncle B Blaine Fowler is on BYU Sports Nation. Let's talk more about the bowl game and specifically how the result of this game for BYU you feel will impact how this season is perceived by BYU fans and the national pundits. What do you think? Win and loss, how much does it matter in gauging what BYU accomplished this season?
When it's all said and done, we'll look back and win or lose, we'll go, wow, that was so far above expectations. That's crazy how much better they were than we thought they were going to be. I do think a win is important, and here's the reason. I feel like there's carryover to the next season. I feel like if BYU beats Colorado and looks solid in this, then all the folks that vote in preseason polls and all that, they take a look and they go, wow, got the quarterback coming back. Let's say Chase announces he's coming back. They have their primary receiver coming back. They added a big-time tight end. This offense is back. The defense is losing some key people up front, but in the transfer portal, they're going to see that we're going to get some dudes, and they're going to go, you know what? We probably need to rank this team in the preseason. And you see what a difference that makes. Let's say that BYU had the same record they had right now, but they started this season number 14. There's a much greater chance they'd be in the college football playoff right now. The Big 12 would have had two teams.
Yep.
And
it matters.
And the fact that preseason matters and carryover matters. And people were like, well, that team you were on in 84, you guys were unranked. But you know what? The team the year before was number 7 in the country. That's what we finished in 83. That was still on people's minds. So we go and we beat Pitt, and we're immediately ranked.
Yes, you beat the number 3 team.
Yeah, we're immediately ranked, and then we just kept moving up. Part of the reason we moved up at the pace we moved up is because people started to go back and go, wow, they do have a lot of pieces back from a really phenomenal team last year that finished number 7 in the country. We just didn't have them ranked because we weren't sure they were going to be able to replace the great Steve Young. And once that question was answered, we actually had bias in our favor because of the year before. I think that a win against Colorado can solidify one of the best seasons BYU's ever had and launch them into next season where they're likely preseason ranked and gives them a better chance at the college football playoff when you start the season ranked. So to me, that's what's on the line here. If they lose it, it's not, whoa, all is lost. It still is a phenomenal year compared to what our expectations were. But wouldn't it be nice to finish on a win and to have all of that momentum going into 2026?
No doubt about it. Do it for the preseason ranking. Blaine, great stuff. Always good to talk to you. Good luck with the remainder of your Christmas shopping and all of the multitasking involved.
I may call you guys for some advice because I know you guys are experts on wife shopping.
Yes, yes. If you need help with colors too, just let us know.
Yeah, because you know I'm colorblind, so sometimes I need some help. I know you guys are always on FaceTime for me if the girls aren't available.
You got it, brother.
So,
we'll be your B team.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Blaine.
Thanks, Blaine.